Hello, hello. So in this video, I wanted to talk about the ENFJs. ENFJs, amazing type. Like I said, I have a lot of mentors that have been ENFJs. When you think ENFJs, you know, I think of guys like Tony Robbins. I don't know if people know Tony Robbins, but big time motivational speaker. Uh, and here's the big thing about ENFJs. ENFJs, they lead with extroverted feeling. Second function is introverted intuition. Third function is extroverted sensing. And then their fourth function is introverted thinking. So as an ENFJ, you're focused on the outside world, which is FE in terms of the feeling and emotion of the environment, and SE, which is whatever's in your environment. So one thing you'll notice about an ENFJ is that they're very much present in their environment. They're very much so in a moment to moment lifestyle where it's like, okay, I'm helping this with the family now. So they can be presently whoever they need to be for the people that they're with in that moment. Now, other types like, let's say you have any in higher up, higher up in your stack, you might wander. You might be with family, but thinking about this, you're more disoriented. ENFJs, because they have that FE and that SE, they're very much so looking in their environment and connecting with their environment and learning from their environment. But they have this subtle introverted intuition where as they pay more and more attention with their environment and learn, because you got to remember these functions that we use, these external functions, as much as they seem like, oh, I'm just extroverted and talking and just looking out, I'm looking at whatever, that's not what's going on. What's really going on is your extroverted functions are gathering hella information to help you survive better. Like, this is science going on. Like, and imagine being an ENFJ where you're talking to all kinds of different people. You know all kinds of different people. You've made relationships with people. You've been a part of different groups. Because you got to remember, as an FE dominant user, you learn a great deal of information from your environment. You're not depending on, like a TE user's depending on taking in a bunch of logic from people. FE wants to connect with people and learn. It learns a lot through connection. And then SE, meaning the stuff that's in its environment, is paying keen attention. So, whereas, let's say somebody coughs and scratches their leg, one person might miss that and okay, whatever. A FE user, I can imagine FE and SE will see that, and that might mean something. That might mean something very well. And that NI is able to pick up on any subtle connections in the environment. So, as this plays out over time, and over time, and over time, and over time, what happens is the ENFJ begins to have this brilliance because about people and about environments and about structures and systems, because they've seen them again and again and again and have paid keen attention, present attention. It's one thing when you talk to 10 people and got their perspective. It's another thing when you talk to 10 people, deeply connected with them, learn some very powerful and truthful information about them as people, and then you have that in your arsenal now. Because now you're digging into the past the facade. And that's what ENFJs have an ability to do. And what this does is it makes them great communicators, natural team leaders, because they're actually engaged and involved with their group and want to know. And it also makes them leaders. And well, I said leaders, but it also makes them more so than just leaders. It makes them motivators, because they're able to see what's holding people back on a level that is like, they have the numbers, they have the repetition, and they're like, look, man, this is what has to change. And they have that FE where they can give it straight to you, but they still have that understanding. So I say all this to say ENFJs are really powerful. I like to paint a picture rather than just say, oh, ENFJs are great communicators. Because for everybody was like, okay, no, why are they great communicators? Because while everyone else is in the environment doing whatever they're doing, the ENFJ is right here with you. They're right here with you, looking at you, talking to you, understanding you in present time. And their intuition is back there, just making subtle connections. And what happens with a lot of ENFJs is they have these bursts, these insights, where it's like bling, and it's like, whoa, I just figured out everything. Like, that can happen to an ENFJ. Like, ENFJs have this infinite ability to keep pulling in insights, because as long as they keep themselves stimulated and communicative and working with people, they're gonna continue to have massive amounts of insights. Because what we got to remember is, and this is more on a higher level, but like, I'll just say it as an example. People are planets, like in the sense of, you have a body, there's organisms and stuff on you. So let's just say that hypothetically, you have a bunch of thoughts and ideas. So one person might look at it like, you're just talking to a bunch of people. What's the value in that, right? Especially thinking dominant types, or, other types. But what we got to remember is, each person that you communicate with has a whole world, has a whole wealth of experiences, of knowledge, of information, of connections. Like they say, your social network is, right now, I think they set up to about 70% of jobs that people get hired from come through someone they know, or through a social connection. So even in this world, you realize, especially in the world we're in today, social networks are huge. Everything is social. And because of that, we're all growing. Even you watching this video, you're growing because you get to communicate with someone like me that's not even in your environment. Now imagine an ENFJ. They're communicating with so many people, and they actually value these communications and connections. And because of that, they begin to gain a wealth of information just from the individual people they talk to, because they understand that one person is infinite amounts of information. You know what I mean? Especially one powerful person, or one person who's very intelligent, which ENFJs can definitely find, right? That one person can have more information than the same 20, 30, 40, 50 people you see every day, where you're having the same conversations. So that's one thing. Another big thing with ENFJs is that since they have that SE as a third function, they don't mind pushing the envelope. They have this natural desire to push the envelope, to stand up for what is, to deal with the pains. I've seen a lot of ENFJs, they've gotten in fights and stuff, like early on in life, and a lot of that is because they're not afraid. The SE is kind of willing to take in the real experience to learn. And so what happens is they take on all of these experiences, and over time what you're looking at is somebody that's very seasoned, very intelligent, and very well connected, and very insightful. ENFJs are power. They have this desire they want power. They want information. But they have that, but they also have a side to them that's very just like, whatever. So one thing that's interesting about ENFJs is you have one side that's like this tribal leader, very mature, the way they carry themselves, very like you could trust them to, they carry themselves with the sense of integrity and maturity. Like, it's like, you look at them like, wow, like they can be your grandfather or something, or your grandmother. Like, that level of respect they can walk with, even when they're like 19 or something, or 17, because they have this way about them where they have a lot figured out about themselves pretty early relative to a lot of people, or at least it appears that way, because they know how to work and carry themselves well in the group. But then they have this complete other side, which is very seeable. Like, you can see this with all ENFJs. That's like playful as hell, or like that's not serious at all. So you're looking at this super serious person that's like hella chill, and they're just joking with you, talking about bullshit, and you're like, wow, this is a nice, refreshing duality going on. Like, you could be very serious and like carry yourself well, but at the same time you can be like, yo, fuck it. And that's another thing about ENFJs. They have this rebel side, and I love that. All ENFJs have a little rebel side, like all of them. No matter how they express it, it's there, and it's subtle, and it's within them, where it's like they're very caring, very nice, very out the way, but they got a side of them that's like, yo, fuck this system, dog. Like it's like, yeah, and I really admire that. And the other big thing I just say with ENFJs is they don't mind speaking their mind. and speaking how they feel about things. And what's really dope about it is they'll speak it because they have SE third. They do these things in the environment. So they'll tell anybody what they're thinking. Um, they'll share their ideas, which makes them very influential, and they're not afraid. They don't deal with all the barriers that an SI user would have, where it's like, okay, I gotta present it this kind of way, and I do this. No, they're like, they'll just go out, hey bro, this is what I think. And then you'll see them have this great convo with somebody, and next thing you know, they're friends with someone, and you're like, dang, like they really don't give a fuck, and it works. So these are kind of the different things, man. But ultimately, when it comes to the pros about ENFJs, they're bold. They speak their mind. They're champions for good. They are brave. They're very insightful. They're leaders naturally. They're all naturally leaders. All naturally teachers. Have an amazing way of explaining things to people. Have an amazing way of communicating to people, and doing it in a way that's convincing. Because they have that TI that's like, no, I'm going this way, and it's linear. Like I'm not going all the circles. They have this thing where it's like I'm going here, and if you're with it, let's go. I know we're gonna get to the promised land. If you're not, you got it, whatever. Because this is where I'm going. I'll figure out the rest later. Like that's how they move. And the last big pro I'll just say is they're very intuitive. Don't sleep on their intuition. They have crazy insights, crazy connections in which they figure out the whole world in one glimpse. Like some of them, you know what I mean? Brilliant types. One of the people that I vibe with when it comes to studying my different sciences and things I study with psychology, I have an ENFJ friend that's like, insights are like, whoa. So if you have any ENFJs in your environment, communicate with them. Y'all stimulate each other in the senses of communication and learning more, because y'all will come to some amazing insights. Trust me. ENFJ is very powerful in that regard. The cons, they're just ways that they can improve on some things to keep in mind. Your SI is really low, so ENFJs a lot of the time they can kind of negate the people who they don't see as very important, which is cool and which isn't a big deal. But don't sleep on everybody and think that like, oh, like I'm all of this, and because what happens is you can be so present and going from here to there that like you're not remembering the things that really matter, especially if you have FI low as well. FI is all about like those strong connections, like, or you noticing what really matters to me with the person I'm dealing with. FE is more so like just going, and so you want to practice the art of, if you do have a good friend, if you do have someone that you learn a lot from, take your time with that as well. Don't just keep going. Another big thing with ENFJs is just being they have that subtle TI, so they can be a little stubborn. They can be a little bit inflexible to change. All ENFJs that I've learned that have been adaptable to change, that are willing to accept change, realize that if the FE moments aren't well, like if someone isn't connecting with you, the world isn't over. Like, you got to understand that be adaptable. And if you're adaptable as an ENFJ, which you have the capacity big time, because that SC is constantly wanting to keep going to the next place so you can keep moving. But don't allow that to hold you down. Be flexible, be adaptable, and what's going to happen is you're going to be very powerful in that regard. And then the other thing I say with ENFJs is don't believe the hype. So, for FE types, they like to be in those group environments. They like to have a tribe. It's just important that I think ENFJs more so create their own tribe or work with the tribe that's right for them. Because if they try to join a tribe and things aren't working, the ENFJ, that's just a bad environment. You don't want an ENFJ in a toxic environment, because it could be bad for everybody. And now I'm not talking about the ENFJ. I'm talking about the group trying to hold them down, because they'll have a tough day. But yeah. So with that being said, man, be free, communicate, and yeah. And I think with that, ENFJs will be fine. ENFJs are very brilliant in my opinion. So I don't want to be biased, but yeah. So I hope you learned a lot about ENFJs. Awesome group. And Thanks for listening.